Soon after Burboa Baba finished talking and went back to his seat, several persons got up and suggested names, but the din and noise made it impossible to hear a word. At that moment, Trijata Agori stood up and roared, commanding people to be silent. His voice was thunderous, like the explosion of a bomb. All other voices were drowned in his voice, and there was a sudden silence in his assembly. Trijata Agori was huge and imposing. He had a large body, fierce, bloodshot eyes, and long matted hair divided into 3 plaits. This is what got him the name Trijata. He had a large vermilion mark on his forehead and a tiger skin around his waist. I was seeing Trijata Agori for the first time, but I had heard from several tantrics that he could break a goat into 2 with one stroke of his hand and then suck up all of its blood, and that he could kill a huge buffalo with one blow of his fist. He was said to be very short-tempered and could do anything in anger. He liked to be alone. It was said that he was a great devotee of Bhairava and was matchless in mantra. He said that valuable time was being wasted, and if it was going to be this way, he would rather return to his abode since discussions could solve nothing. He agreed with Burboa Baba that there was nothing impossible on the earth. Therefore, it would be advisable to elect the chairman unanimously. He said that it was also true that masters of all skills were present in the assembly. Therefore, the person selected should be a master of all. He said, I have one name in mind and have strong reasons for suggesting it. I propose Sri Srimali's name for the chairmanship. I have tested this man. He learnt Mrityu Sanjeevani from me. In exchange, I too learnt several sadhanas from him which are not commonly known. I have no doubt that his name will have unanimous approval. There was so much noise and disorder after Trijata's proposal that nothing could be heard. I had been working in the field of Tantra for about 20 years, and apart from cities and villages, I had wandered in the distant Himalayas, but I had never heard Srimali's name. I was surprised to hear it from Trijata. Who was this man of whom I had heard nothing all these days? But the person whose name was proposed by Trijata had to be very special. Many were surprised like me and eager to have a look at Srimali. We wondered what kind of an expert he was who had no prefix to his name like Baba or Swami. Burboa Baba seconded the proposal. He said that he knew Srimaliji personally, although they had not been together much, but from whatever he had seen of him at the Kumbh Mela fair, he was strongly convinced that Srimali would be very suitable as the chairman of the conference. Hardly had Burboa Baba gone back to his seat when Trijata Agori stood up and pulled up by his hand the man sitting next to him. As the man stood up, all eyes turned to him. I could not believe that the man could be such a great sadhaka, tantric or mantrik. I could not see anything extraordinary in him from any angle. Neither was his dress bizarre, nor did he have a giant-like body. There was nothing to make me believe that the man was extraordinary. Tall stature, broad forehead, small but sharp eyes, and an expression of self-confidence on his face. He wore dhoti and kurta. His hair was well groomed. He looked more like an ordinary householder than a tantric. When I first saw him, I was surprised that a common householder had been permitted to attend the convention. But when Burbua Baba seconded his name, I was forced to believe that there was something extraordinary about the man. 3 or 4 Aghoris stood up meanwhile and they protested strongly. One of them was particularly fierce looking. In one hand, he was holding a bricktail full of meat pieces. He kept nibbling at a piece as he talked. He spat as he talked. His eyes were so frightening that one did not dare look into them. I learnt later that his name was Bhairuva Agori. He protested strongly and said that he had never heard of Srimali. He said, I do not like this man at all. I challenge him on behalf of the Aghor Panth. If he accepts the challenge and withstands my blow, I shall accept him. He had hardly finished his say when in the last rows, a sadhu ascetic stood up. His body was smeared with ash. His matted hair was so long that it swept the floor as he walked, and his eyes were fierce and face cruel. He at once let out a barrage of abuses and said that while he was alive, no one else had the right to be the chairman. I have mastered Kritya, he said. Whoever withstands my Kritya will preside, or else I will reduce him to a heap of ashes. What is Srimali? What does he think he is? He went on showering abuses so fast that the entire assembly was dumbfounded. My eyes turned to the sadhu and Srimali alternatively. I could not detect any sign of fear or nervousness in Srimali's face. On the contrary, if anything, he looked full of self-confidence. I also felt that no third person had the courage to interfere, as this sadhu was none other than Kapali Baba, and it was said that he had mastered 64 Krityas and was quite capable of using them any time. Other tantrics were naturally nervous of Kapali Baba. Those who had learnt Kritya could not have mastered more than 1 or 2. Trijata stood up. His face was flushed in anger. Accepting Bhairuva Agori's and Kapali Baba's challenges, he said, I am personally not competent to accept Kapali Baba's challenge, but Srimali will definitely accept it and give an adequate reply. I have full confidence in him and his knowledge. I also know that he has acquired distinction in mantra too, and he is the favorite disciple of the world famous Yogiraj Sachchidanand ji. Under the name of Nikhileshwarananda, he has practiced and mastered all Krityas, and the tantric community is familiar with his name, which he changed after he returned to domestic life. Burbua Baba also appealed to end the discussion as quickly as possible. He suggested that Srimali should stand up on the dais and 3 or 5 sadhakas should challenge him and test his ability. As he spoke, he pulled up Srimali by the hand and made him stand on the dais.